Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is June 10th. Welcome to my channel. This market did a whole lot of nothing yesterday. Whole lot of nothing. And volume was very low. And this morning, actually, got decent volume. Actually, I'll show you that real quick. Relative volume. It's at 107%, 118%. So decent this morning. Okay, decent this morning. And we're just in flux here again. There's too much in the air out there. There's too much uncertainty. Got stuff going on in LA, Russia, Ukraine, US China trade talks, Elon, Trump. Are they getting along now? I don't know. There's just so much going on, right? And we have CPI tomorrow. Okay. Now we do have an overnight session that engulfed yesterday's real-time session, real-time trading hour session. Okay. So that happened. And where are we at? By the most traded price of the week. Okay. No, if you watch me enough, you'll know that that's a wall, that's a magnet. When the markets are indecisive, they tend to go back to home, which is that most traded price of the week, the month. I call it the VPOC, the volume point of control. All right, that's what the market's doing. So I think we're ready to start to get into this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets. Long supply and demand, gamma exposure, levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. All right, also use anchored view ops, market internals to let me know when the market is open, where strength is, okay, where strength is, or weakness is. Okay, now hopefully, you enjoy this and you subscribe and set an alert. All right, that'd be much appreciated. Do this every morning and just give you the market story, the news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, daily charts, hourly charts, and then we go into long and short trade scenarios using the market profile and volume profile in the ES and the Nasdaq. Okay, today had somebody reach out to me in another Discord and told me that it's hard to see my chart when I do the long and short trade scenarios. So I did some doctoring. Hopefully, if I can get some feedback today, if it's more easy on the eyes, just let me know. I'd like to have the experience who watches to be better. I don't want to just, you know, ignore that feedback. Okay, now I do have a 4K monitor in the. My setup is a 46-inch 4K monitor in the center, two 27-inch monitors to my left and my right. And the monitor that I do my scenarios on is the 4K monitor. Now I would love to stream in 4K, but then anybody who looks on a phone, you wouldn't be able to see anything, right? You just wouldn't. It'd be too small, right? It's super sharp for me, but I understand I'm streaming. So, and I'm down converting to HD. All right. So that's how that goes. All right. So hopefully you guys give me some feedback on that. All right. Now let's move. Let's just get right into futures. Let's see what's moving markets today. We got Bitcoin. Bitcoin's leading. It's almost at 110. All right. Ethereum's up 6.69%. So crypto world's getting some love. 30-year bonds, okay, are being bought up 0.53, which should send yields lower. Crude's up 0.52, Russell's up 0.47, the VIX is up 0.35, Nasdaq's up 0.18, ES up 0.16, the dollar's up 0.07, the Dow is up 0.06, silver's up 0.04, silver's on a run, okay. Gold down 0.112, 0.13, and there you go. The 10-year yield's down 0.62, so 10-year yield's starting to come back a little bit. All right. Moving on, Max 7 Plus here. Tesla, after getting destroyed, is starting to catch a bid. caught a bid yesterday. All right, so up 2.39%. Meta's up 1.07. Coinbase up 0.92. Bitcoin proxy, Nvidia's up 0.52. Okay. Laggards today. GE down 0.06. Microsoft down 0.10. And Apple, they had their conference yesterday, and people weren't really impressed. There wasn't anything new out yesterday. They kind of fell yesterday. Okay, and now today they're slightly down, slightly down. Um, Other than that, we look at the top sectors real quick. You got Qualcomm. I know they purchased somebody. They're up 0.91. Uber's up 0.83. And then the laggard today is McDonald's. McDonald's down 1.2%. I don't know why. Maybe there's something here. McDonald's stock gets third ground. I got a downgrade. Okay. Move on to sectors. It's the guts of the market here. Let's look at this together. Energy's leading the pack, up 0.80. Followed by semis, up 0.57. Followed by discretionary. That's your Tesla, your Home Depot, your Amazon. Utilities, okay. There's no laggers today. No laggers today. Moving on. We're going to move on to let's do the market internals recap. Okay, let's do the market internals recap. All right. All right, so yesterday I wasn't here. I had a doctor's appointment in Philly. So we'll look at this together. This is the whole day. All right, so it looks like the market moved up, was positive for all the whole day. Okay, positive for a whole day. Now remember, the bars represent the market cap weights. Okay, so for most of the day, the way our market moves is market cap. That was actually divergent from equal weight. So the overall market was stronger than what actually moves our market. Okay, so the bottom line is when you're over zero, the market's not weak, it's stronger. Okay. However, you want to see this white line be in line with the market cap. That makes it stronger. Or if the market cap's above this white line, that's the best moves. So this is like a little bit of a okay overall market strength, and then you have market cap wasn't the best. It was, like I said, stronger, wasn't the best. Okay, you can see top four sectors, or let's just call it the top five. Infotech up 0.10. Financials was lagging. Healthcare is lagging. Then you got your Tesla. All right, your Tesla, your Amazon had a good day, but then communications, Meta did not have a good day. Right, industrials did not have a good day. That's your GE. That's your Uber. That's your Cat. All right, but the rest of the market seemed to have a decent day overall. Overall, okay. That's your market internals recap for the day. Now we can go right into the economic calendar. What we have today is very light today. Very light. All right, so today we just have API crude really. There's some one stars, but they're not really going to move the market. All right, tomorrow is your CPI. Tomorrow is your CPI. All right, let's go into some news here. Let's see if there's anything here for us in the vesting.com. If there's not, I'm just going to move on to the regular. All right, here we go. All right, let's read off these. Apple stock fell 0.3, adding to the previous session's losses as the iPhone maker's keynote address at its yearly developers conference included only incremental improvements. Tesla stock rose 2.2 after President Donald Trump took a more neutral tone towards CEO Elon Musk in a press conference after the close relationship between the two blew up in public last week. Nvidia stock rose 0.3 after Hewlett Packard Enterprise rose 1.2 after the tech company said they are partnering. All right, let's see McDonald's. There we go. Stock fell 1.3 after Redburn downgraded its stance. Okay, let's see. IBM stock rose 1% after the tech giant said it plans to have a practical quantum computer by 2029. All right, Walt Disney stock rose 0.2 after the entertainment giant agreed to pay Comcast up to 0.1, just over $438 million to acquire its stake in streaming service Hulu. Interesting. Moving on to more news. Lutnick says U.S. trade China talk going well on second day. Kennedy's firing of independent CDC advisors undermines vaccine confidence, experts say. Okay. Morgan Stanley markets $5 billion for Elon Musk-owned AI in loans bonds. All right. And then the dollar firm, while gold prices inched up, oil climbed on optimism about U.S.-China trade talks. easing trade tensions and expectations of Saudi Arabia's crude supply to China dipping slightly. Anything else here that I want to look at here? Looks like Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, the billionaire CEO of Meta Platforms, is setting up a team of experts to achieve so-called artificial general intelligence, AGI, or machines that can match or surpass human capabilities. Interesting. All right. All right. I think we're going to move on to breadth charts here. Breadth charts. Let's look how those look. It's always a good gauge to look at these. And just this number alone tells us a lot about our market. 56% of stocks in the S&P 500 are over the 20-day simple moving average. Just a good breadth indicator, because if it's like 56%, that means the market is half and half. That gives indecision, right? And that's what we're doing right now. That's what the market is telling us. All right, so if we'll go to bullish percent index, and we're going to go to the S&P 500. 72% of stocks are on buy signals. Let's look at that. The NASDAQ 100, bullish percent, that's at 78% of stocks on buy signals. And then you want to get your overall, right, more NYC, the NYC bullish percent, that's more stocks, 59, right? So it's just telling us again, the market is in flux. It's kind of like only 59% of stocks are on buy signals. That's a little more than 50-50. That just shows you the overall markets, right? We'll just do one more. We'll do the Nasdaq exchange as well. Let's do that. Nasdaq Composite right here. That's at 54. So that really tells you, out of all the stocks basically in the stock market, your Nasdaq exchange, your NYSE, like I said, let's just call it close to 6,000 stocks overall. It's cut down the middle. All right, it's cut down the middle. Now, let's move on. We're going to go to daily charts now. All right, let's go to our dailies. All right, let's look at our daily charts here. All right, whole lot of nothing yesterday. Doji candle, a doji candle, then a doji candle. That just tells you indecision, just alone on a doji candle. All right, that's last week's highs. We breached it for a second and closed in the middle of the session. And I noticed when I got back from Philly that volume was horrible. Price action was like a barcode. I'm like, man, I didn't miss anything today. So I wasn't really, but you do have this more like a channel, but it is a wedge. But you definitely have the market just honoring this. So pay attention to that. Okay? Pay attention. Look how tight that is. Honoring it, right? Really honoring it. Where's the market at now? 650. We'll call it 650, which would be right here. So you're basically in the upper third of yesterday session. Okay, let's look at futures real quick. You can see here, this is just, this market hasn't done much, right? Look, bounce, 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 and it's like, ooh, we're breaking out. Nope, nope, nope. So that's last week's highs. We're inside last week's range. There's last month's highs right there. Holding above last month's highs, but not by much. Basically just, like the market has some indecision, right? And you can see right here, there's nice consolidation here that's probably going to be some problems with the market. Okay, and I'll show you some high volume nodes in a little bit. Let's move on to the Qs. Okay, here's our Qs. Also has a channel, ascending wedge down, but that ascending wedge won't be, visible really until up there. But same thing, honoring this price action here. So let's just get in close here. All right, so a doji and a doji, same thing in a Nasdaq. You breached the prior day's highs a little bit, didn't even touch last week's highs. So you can see that Nasdaq was a little relatively weaker yesterday because the SPY did breach last week's highs, right? Probably the weakness in Meta, right, didn't help. Okay, where are we now? 530.80, 530.80, 531.80. I'm sorry. You're at the upper third of yesterday's session. Okay, upper third of yesterday's session. All right, let's look at futures. Futures, you can just see we're just moving up, and you got that wedge pattern here as well. I'll show you that in the hourly chart in futures. Okay, but it's really a whole lot of nothing. We're also in June. Okay, volume dropped off a cliff yesterday, but today is pretty decent. Today is pretty decent. Okay, all right. Moving on, we're going to go to that triple head monster here. All right, let's look at that bond market. Bond market is getting bought up today, so that's going to cause yields to drop. Okay, so you get a little drop, but it's really doing nothing. It's not telling us much. Okay, let me see. I'll make sure I have the drawings here. Let's get this here. Trend lines. All right. Let's go back to default here. So it's not telling us much, right? Right, the anchor VWAP of 2025 is really just a flat anchor VWAP from last year. This is not doing much at all. Okay. Moving on to the dollar. That dollar, I've been saying, look at this, just bottoming out, boy. Bottoming out. All right, maybe we got some compression here. Let's just see here. Okay. Not really. Let's see. Let's see how that looks there. All right, a little bit. Not really. A little bit compression. All right, let's look at that VIX. All right, let's look at our VIX here. Just hanging out at 17.22. Like you can see, we're hanging on this range, dropped a little lower. We're back in this range, but it's not exactly like it's low volatility. Remember, 16 VIX is a 1% expected move plus or minus in the S&P 500. So 17 VIX should get decent range. Okay, should get decent range. All right, that wraps up that. Moving on to our hourly chart analysis. All right, let's do that. There's not much to really go in depth here. It's just going to show you where we're at here in the ES first. Okay, so let's go to that. Here's our hourly charts. All right, so basically we're in this ascending wedge. Okay, you can see it. Okay, you can see the top bands getting resistance here perfectly. Okay, you can see all the support here. Okay, and that's what our playground is right now. Most traded price of the week's right here. That's where we're hanging out. Okay, now for my own thing, I put an anchor view up right here. That's that blue anchor view up. I put on this swing low an anchor view up, and you can see that has been supportive for the market, but they're kind of starting to flatten out, which makes sense because we're in this most traded price. Okay, so who knows what happens? Can we go down here, push back up, go to this side, and eventually we fall? I don't know. All right, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. I can't. There's not much to analyze here. All right, we're grinding up higher. Obviously, this train's gonna stop eventually. Okay. Now, let's look at our Nasdaq. Okay. Let's look at our Nasdaq. Same ascending wedge as well. All right. You can see right there, here, and here, honoring that top of the ascending wedge. You have the trend line going back from here, here, support, right? So price actions here is the most traded price of the week's right here. And the same thing, anchored view up from the highs, anchored view up from the swing low, starting to flatten out. Hence why we're in balance, right? This is last week's highs. 21936. We came up here and we failed. We came up there and we failed. Okay, where are we at now? We're at last month's highs, around 21860. Last month's highs. Okay, like I said, I don't concentrate on patterns too much, but you do have a little head and shoulder pattern here. Okay, you got your shoulder, your head, your shoulder, and then a neckline would be here. So no, generally this is a bearish pattern. You break that level, where do we go? I don't know. I'm not sure if that's going to hold. Okay, but that's what I'm seeing right here. I think we're good for that analysis. Okay, we're going to move on. I just got to switch my workspace. Just give me a second here. You're going to see my new setup here. And like I said, hopefully it's easier on the eyes, less stuff going on for you guys. So here it is. Okay. I'm hoping the levels, the numbers are easier to see. Like I said, drop me a comment right now, or you can wait till later to tell me if this is easier on the eyes, because I believe it is. Okay, I got rid of all the volume profiles to the left, and I only have a volume profile on the overnight session right now. So that cleans it up on the eyes. Got rid of some other levels, made these levels bigger. Okay, made them bigger. All right, so if we're looking at yesterday, now yesterday's session, right, that's an ugly profile. Okay, first let's go over what we normally go over, that weekly composite profile here. So you have this profile, you have value area here, and you got that little move up in the overnight last night. Okay, you did, this would be a bullish imbalance. You did push up. Okay, now price is right here. You do have a poor high. You can see that now, probably a little more clearly now. I don't need to see, but it's pretty nice. The indicator tells me poor high, even though I don't really need to see that. You can see there's 3 30-minute periods in the overnight. I'll show you, break it out right here. Right, so that means longs had poor location. And once longs get stuck there, you fall. Now, what does that mean also? It also means that eventually, in market profile terminology, this needs to be corrected, meaning you need to put excess. Auctions don't end like this. This is an incomplete auction, and you need to correct it because you need a bell curve to have distribution. You need to have bell curve to have distribution. I'm going to collapse this. Okay. And I'm going to show, let's look at yesterday's price action. That also had a poor high. That should have been corrected. And see, the overnight corrected it. So let's look at that. All right. So opened up here, right? And that's a chop. Boy, did that chop around. Chop, 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 chop. Boom. Then look, you had a poor high here. Longs at poor trade location. And what do you have to do? Drop back down. Okay, then you closed here. Okay, that's what happened yesterday. Okay, so now we're going to get into our key levels today. All right, now we have a mini little balance area going on here. Mini little balance area. All right, you can see there's demand, that this demand kind of got cleaned up a little bit, but I'm keeping it there because this has really been support in the market. So right here is support. Right, we're going to start here. Right, go down to that 59.84 level right there. Okay, so anywhere from 59.98, probably around 6,000 down to 59.84. That's kind of your balance of this little mini balance area. Okay. Now, up here, you got your overnight highs at 60, 40, 50. You can see that number hopefully now. And you had a little breakout point here at 60.27. You had that poor high. This was then corrected in the overnight and made another poor high. Okay, so I would look at this as a level to look at. You also have supply zone that was formed here from that move. Okay, so very easy today. Very easy. Now let's let's spread out this profile. Okay, just like that. That's your price action. These market profiles are all they are is 30-minute bars. And then you collapse it and it makes a market profile. Okay, so you can see our profile overnight. It's very balanced. You have some consolidation up here, but then it gets sold off. But you're in the middle. See the mid 6016 is your midpoint of the session. See that? You're right there. So anytime you're in the mid of something, 50%, it's not a good area to trade. It's not. You can get chopped up. Okay. But where are we at? You got the most traded price of the week at 60.13 right here. That's your most traded price of the week. Your most traded price of yesterday was right here. Okay, so we're just hanging out in balance. And what's going to happen that I can guarantee is what you would call an inside out trade. I don't like to trade like this because it's very unpredictable. But we're going to do this today or this. It's guaranteed. Okay, and I'd rather be active there and here because in here it's a coin flip. That's a coin flip. That's a roulette, black or red. Okay, and you get it right. You might get it right if you go long and we move up. You might get it wrong. Same thing. You might get it right if you're short. But you might get it wrong. So that's not what I want to concentrate on, but that will be part of the scenarios, right? We're in balance here. It's a chop zone area. Okay, chop zone area. You can see last week's highs here as well. That's your 60.25. That's your 60.25. All right, so now we do have a level down here. You still have the 59.15s, the most traded price of the year. You have this 59.30 area. That's your confluence low. So this area is still a big area, but it's so far away. And the volatility has been not crushed, but like slow down a little bit. I mean, you only had a range of 20 something points yesterday. That's not that big of a range. Okay. Your overnight range and did engulf it. Okay. So let's just get right into scenarios. Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody's live right now. Hopefully, this looks easier on the eyes. Hopefully. Let's go to the bull case scenario first. Okay, so price is here, 60.18. Okay, 60.18. All I'm going to look for. Okay, there's a couple things that could happen here. Okay, we do have our most traded price of the week and yesterday. So remember, we're going to have the inside out trade. Now, this ain't going to be me, but we could do this, right? Hang out here, push up, pull back, hold it, and move up. And let's see if you can break this poor high and go into this next supply zone. Okay. That's probably going to do it out with me. I'm probably not going to be ecstatic about that. You're in supply, right? I would rather have this move. You push down, test the overnight lows, 5991.25. You come into this area, okay? And it might be a nice boop, 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 and you could make yourself back up to here and see if you can break that high, okay? Now you do have a month-to-day VWAP right there, about 59.75 with the demand zone. Has not been tested yet. This might be a bear trap if we do fall down here, hit that month-to-date VWAP, okay? Month-to-date VWAP. If we hit that into this demand zone, that could be another nice move. Just make a bigger balance area and we go back to the mean. Anywhere lower than this, I'm probably not too ecstatic for a long. Okay, so that's it for the longs. Okay, now if I want to be bearish, right? We already have a supply zone here. We already got rejected here. So what I could see realistically is this, and I'm going to show you why this market also is just having problems. Not only is it our news and the uncertainty of the markets with all this news hanging out there, it's also structure based as well. So you have TA holding it and you have news holding it. Okay, I'm going to explain that in a second. That's why you have another supply zone up here. I'm going to explain that in a second. So we'll get to the short side. All right, if this market moves up, I could see this being a bull trap. Okay, break the polar high, correct this, right? Poor structure. Go into supply. Now that supply starts at 60.42. Okay, this I feel could be a potential profit take and then lower highs. And then you're going to work yourself back into the mean, right? I would take some off. If you get this and can hold, right? This is just balance rules. Longs got paid from here. You're going to go back to the other side of balance. And that could just be the move. That could be it. Okay. Now, this makes it a harder trade, but if the price right here just rips under this most traded price of the week and starts to hold, same move can happen. Okay. Now, what if we go down and break this balance low? We're going to hit the month-to-day VWAP again. If we take out these both demand zones, yeah, we're headed to 59.15, the most traded price of this year and of the month. Okay. Do I know if that happens? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. All right. That's scenarios. Okay. Now, I promised you why this market is getting some traffic. Okay. And it's all right here. Okay. It's all right here in this. Did I really close that? Oh, no. Okay. So let's get yellow, yellow, yellow. Maybe not yellow. Maybe pink. All right. So the bottom line, this is the ES, okay? Price is right here right now. You can see we're at the most traded price of this month, 60.13. Happens to be the most traded price of the week. Okay, this is different because this is not rolling. This is actually just telling you for the month of June, 60.13 is the most traded price. Okay, but you can see this profile, okay, has a big high volume node here. And this is from a year ago, not just from current. That is slowing down this market. Okay. Remember, markets move from high volume node to high volume node. So look at that high volume node. Then if we go there, we're going to move to this high volume node. And if we don't go there, we're going to move to this high volume node. That's how markets work. Okay, so this is a nice visual to see like, oh, okay. One more visual, I can give you a daily chart as well. This could show it probably even more cleanly. Look at this high volume node here. Why is that there? It's from this volume and it's from this volume. And it's just holding the market at bay. And then you have these two high volume nodes will encompass all this price action. If we get up there, that's also going to be a problem. It's just like a traffic jam, a wall. Like I said, it usually is a magnet and it will slow down markets. Okay, so moving on to your NASDAQ. Now, I really think this adjustments I made to the NASDAQ are really nice because they look more like the ES profiles now. Before, they were very hard to see. Trust me, I know that. For me on a 4K monitor, no. But for streaming, this looks a lot cleaner. You can see the levels and you can see the profiles. Okay. Before it was like minuscule. You couldn't really see them. Again, please give me feedback live right now or later to let me know this is better. Okay. This is better. All right. Let's get into it. Now this profile, let's look at that real quick, is balanced. Pretty almost balanced, right? You got your extension overnight, value area, and then you got extension down there. A little asymmetric. It's not symmetric yet, but it's kind of balancy. All right, so we have that. Now, same thing, right? This overnight session has engulfed yesterday's session in the real-time trading hours. Okay, now hopefully you can see the shaded, lighter shaded areas. That's overnight activity. The The dark area, the black, is real-time trading hours. So if you ever really wanted to look at my chart and go, how do I know which is overnight versus the real-time trading hours? All you have to look at is the lighter shaded area is overnight activity, and they're also going to be bigger. Okay, they're also going to be bigger. So price is here, 218.59. That dot is your price. And if you just look at the overnight activity, look at this profile. You got extension to the top, excess to the top. You got the most traded price in the middle, and you got excess to the bottom. That's a completed profile, right? That also makes me pause because 218.53, you can see right here, is the midpoint, and we're right there. That's equilibrium, right? So you don't want to see price here because it's just you're in the middle of a lot of price action, right? You're in the middle of a lot of price action. So you don't have in the Nasdaq the poor highs that you did yesterday in the ES. You don't have it. Okay. So you have excess. I'm not saying that's a huge deal. All right. But we do have this little mini balance area that we've been in. Okay. In the Nasdaq. All right. So it's going to start right around 217.60. And we're going to go all the way to about 217.16. Okay. That will be your mini balance lows. Now we have supply up here. Okay. Supply up here. And I would say that 219.73, that overnight highs here, you can see prior highs here, over here. So I'm going to mark off this. You got last week's highs there. Okay, we got this. Okay, so this is last week's highs. That's your 219.36 or 219.36. Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's a playground, really. Okay, it's your playground. Now the overnight most traded price is your 218.35. All right. So this is all just value here. You can see it, the lighter shade of blue. It's all value. You're in the middle. It's not a great place to be. And we're just going to talk about the same stuff we just talked about. Very basic. It's very basic. Okay, so we're going to get right into the scenarios and wrap this up. Hopefully this is more pleasing to the eyes, like I said. All right. And we'll start with the bull case. Okay. Price is here. All right, so this is the most traded price yesterday, right here. This 218. Let's call it 218.53. All right, and you got the most traded price of the week. So this could be support here, that 218.35. It could be. Okay, so the market could. Remember, I said when you're inside balance, you're going to make an inside out move. You have to move away from balance. It's not a matter of will we really do that? Yeah, you're going to do it. Okay, so this could be a matter of push up, hold, and then you move away from balance. Okay, and then you're going to battle this supply zone and overnight highs. Okay, so you could push up and maybe reach to this level. That level is around 220, 24 around. Okay, now I don't know if we get up there. That's a target. That's the end of the supply zone. There must be resistance there. Okay. Now, what I would rather have happen is this price to move lower. Okay, move away and test this support area. All right, which happens to be the demand zone. Right. So if you get the higher lows here, you start moving back. You're going to move at least back up here. Okay. Now, there is a bear trap scenario here. You can break this low, and if you don't know, no one knows the month-to-day VWAP. Anchor VWAP is right there at 216.83. You don't know that, and you don't know there's a demand zone there, right? It could trap shorts, and it could go whoop, bounce, and has to get out of there quickly. Okay, It's probably the last thing I'd be interested in for longs. Okay, being honest with you. Okay, so let's look at short side. Now, short side, okay, price is here. I would love a move up, just like we saw. Right, there's a 3-hour supply right here, right at last week's highs, right there. Okay, I could even say we tap the overnight highs, come back through, lower high, get a nice short in here, go right back into the center of balance. I would probably take some off. Then you're going to go and test this like 217.21 area. That's your little mini balance lows. And see if you can break this month to day VWAP. If you break this, you got two demand zones here. Okay. If the market really starts to pick up steam of weakness, you could really slice through these. And where are you going to go? Your 214.35, your most traded price of this year in the rolling year. It's a monster level. Okay. It's a monster level. Now, let me talk about seasonality. Generally, May is sell in May and go away, which means at the end of May you sell and go away, and we generally bottom out in June. Then you make a rally in the summer that gets followed by weakness in the end of August, September, October. Okay, that's usually how the seasonality works. Now, like I said, will the seasonality bear its head? We have definitely been moving up and up and up and up. There's going to be a correction, just nobody knows when. Will it be today? I don't know. We're ahead of CPI, so I would think this would be less likely. Okay, so that's really what I would like to see. Now, of course, we could just push down, right, and hold, and you maybe get a move here. One thing I didn't say before was door number 3, and I'll just make it yellow, where we could do some type of move like this and then fall right back to balance because of CPI. Same thing here. You can go, oh my God, and then everyone's like, I'm not going to hold on to this, but when CPI comes up tomorrow and we de-risk and you go back to balance. Okay, that is door number 3. But that's it, folks. That is it. That is all for today. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please smash the like button if you did. All right. And again, remember, hopefully that was more easy on the eyes. You could see some levels. All right. Tried to make it less cluttery for everybody. All right. Hopefully that worked. And here we go. Subscribe, set an alert. I do this every morning. Come join me. Have a cup of coffee, water, whatever, in your car. I'm going to give you what's exactly going on in the market and why our market's doing what it's doing, along with all the daily charts. Cool. Looks better, right? Does it look better? I just want to, like, yeah, cool. I just want to make sure because I know my boy looks at the NASDAQ. Yeah. I'm just hoping it looks a lot clearer and more, you can see it better. Sweet. So, like I said, join me every day. Give you the lowdown on stuff, right? And thanks. Oh, look at Rosita. Rosita. Very busy girl. Cool. So, again, getting some help from my friends here. Thanks for the feedback. And we got a day ahead of us, okay? Now, I don't know how much to expect. We got CPI tomorrow, right? Sometimes, like I said, you want to hold your purse close to your chest before a day like that. But there's always two ways that usually happens. Okay, we can either just stay in balance, or a lot of times you do get an outsized move, and then as the day goes on, it's like a bottom, and people de-risk, and you go right back to balance. You see that a lot, where it's like, man, we really selling off before this big data, and we do, but then it goes right back because people don't want to hold the bag. Okay, so that's it for today, folks. Okay, we have our plan. Let's follow it. Remember, no trade to trade. Hope everybody stays green today. And not sure if I don't know, I'm sure if Documents is trading today. But if you guys want to check out myself in Discord, where I give you my play-by-play. All right, go to Confluence Trading on Discord. Go to my YouTube homepage. You can join up, and I will leave commentary there. And if I decide to go live, you'll hear me live and see exactly, sweet, sweet. You'll see exactly how I analyze the market, okay? The market only works in one way, and that's when I use my internals. Okay, so hope to see you there. If not, I'll see everybody back on the stream tomorrow. All right?